Hey guys, welcome back to 1776 or Bust. On the table, you see my OD Green CZ P-07. So again, there's a kind of like a cult following behind the P-07. There's a ton of people who actually really like this handgun for a lot of different reasons. Reason number one, it's super reliable. Reason number two, fairly ergonomic. And reason number three, because it's a CZ. You know, there is that fandom with this type of firearm and the manufacturer that makes these guns that people just love. Now, this is not a review of the gun. What I'm going to do is kind of talk to you a little bit about some stuff that I just recently did to this gun. And I'll kind of show you the results on my trusty trigger gauge here. But one of the things that I chose to do was, out of the box, as many of you are probably aware, the P-07 has a pretty damn heavy double action and a fairly, I don't want to say heavy single action, but a fairly heavy single action too. The reset's a little mushy. I think most people would agree that there's a kind of a lot of play when it comes to the take up on the reset. What I did for this gun isn't really going to address that. It doesn't really fix that problem, but it definitely, some of the things that I did address the heavy double action and the slightly heavier single action than I would be into at this point. So the first thing I want to talk about is where I got the kit from. As many of you know, based on the title of this video, I did buy the kit from MCARBO. I paid approximately $31 for the entire kit. That included shipping and taxes. And the kit actually is a pretty all-inclusive kit, which I think is very good for the price. It comes with a hammer spring, comes with a sear spring, a trigger return spring, and also a striker spring, plus a new roll pin here to keep your striker in place and all that other great stuff. And other than that, I mean, it's a pretty straightforward install. If you guys have not seen any of MCARBO's videos online, you really need to check them out. They, in my opinion, have the best installation videos of any company out there when it comes to modifying your handgun, especially something that, in my opinion, moderately difficult, like the P-07 or P-01. Now, I've had plenty of guns with MCARBO parts in them. I've had no malfunctions with it, no issues whatsoever. This gun was a little bit different because I didn't just do the springs. I actually watched the video they produced and wound up actually polishing everything inside. So obviously this is a slide. I can't really show you the internals that were changed, but I did change out the striker spring that comes with the kit. I also just took some really fine sandpaper that they include in the kit and just shaved it down a little bit, just trying to get the burrs off of it, making sure there was no piece of metal that might interfere with the plunger. But other than that, everything else you see here, aside from the new spring and this new roll pin, is standard with the P-07. Now this is where you get kind of into the interesting part. You guys can see there's a lot of glowing in there. And what I did was I took the trigger bar out. Again, the installation process is fairly straightforward, and their video helped it quite a bit. It is actually pretty cool, in my opinion, to learn how to do that, especially on a gun like this, because once you get it down, it's fairly straightforward. The only issue I have to say, which I think was the hardest part of the reassembly, not even the disassembly, was the decocker levers. These were a giant pain in the ass to put back on. As a matter of fact, this was the hardest part of the reassembly process. Eventually, I was able to get them in. I'm a little unsatisfied with how, I guess how effective that might be. I have noticed that when I go to decock several times, I feel a little movement in the decocking handles. So I may at some other point, revisit that just to see what I did. So the first thing I did here, and I'll see if that camera will zoom in, but you can see that the bottom of the hammer here, where this meets up with the sear, has actually been nicely polished. And again, I would not say it's 100% perfect. There might still be a little black material on there, but for the most part, I'd say about 98% is pretty clear and pretty shiny, and in my opinion, looks pretty darn good. You can also see the sear in here. That was also done by yours truly, and I did wind up polishing it. I didn't sand anything. I wanted to keep all of the numbers the same when it comes to width and all the material. All I did was wind up polishing it, and now you can see it's almost like a glass-like finish. I also polished the roller here as well. Some of it I did pretty well. This one didn't come out as good. I found that to be a little bit more of a challenge when polishing it. Also, I took the trigger bar here, popped that out, and I wound up polishing that as well. So it's got a very nice, slick, glass-like finish on it. Now you're going to see in here, that's the new trigger return spring. Again, very easy to install, very straightforward process. I mean, overall, I have to say the most difficult parts, again, were the decocking lever and really just trying to fit this spring right here, which is the decocking spring, back into this little tiny spot right in the bottom of the handgun there. I mean, other than that, it was a very straightforward process. I really didn't have anything to worry about. You know, the trigger definitely has loosened up. I wouldn't say that the double action is sterlingly awesome, but I would say that it is much better than what it was. The single action on this now is pretty friggin' phenomenal. It comes to a wall, but it's really, really light. And I have to say that actually is pretty good. I don't have any issues with that whatsoever. So we'll go to the half cock position again, and we'll give it a test run now and see what we come up with. 7 pounds, 5 ounces. 7 pounds, 4.3 ounces. With a final pull of 7 pounds, 13.3 ounces, for the average being 7 pounds, 3.5 ounces. So either way, you're looking at a sub 8 pound pull, which is a huge improvement on the initial 12 pound pull that I was pulling on this gun when I first bought it. It is a pretty smooth take up. Obviously with the hammer spring, it does improve it, I believe, quality wise with the trigger pullback. You know, the hammer comes down very nicely, no issues with that. The reset, again, it's not the short take up on the reset, and there is a little bit of movement right there. But man, once you get to that single action, guys, it's smooth as glass. So let's take a look at the single action really quick. 3 pounds, 2.5 ounces. 3 pounds, 1.8 ounces. And for the last trigger pull, 2 pounds, 4.9 ounces. That's probably a little bit low, but you're looking at about 2 pounds, 13.7 ounces. So you're looking at almost a 3 pound trigger pull, which is pretty damn good. And you definitely feel it. I mean, you could feel I guess you could say responsiveness of the double action much more than it was. And then of course, when you go into that single action mode, the follow-up shots should be fairly easy. I mean, there's not much take up right there. I can feel it hitting the wall right about there. And then you could just feel the release. It is just a very, very well put together kit. I have to say that I've been very impressed with MCARBO stuff. Again, not paid to do the review, didn't get the stuff for free, paid for it myself, knowing the quality of the product and knowing what it could do with the CZ, since I've already done my others as well. So leave those comments down below. Tell me what you think. If you have any experience with MCARBO, I'd love to hear that. Again, I'll revisit the decocker. It just seems like the decocker is just a little bit loose. I'm not real happy with it. It maintains position, obviously, if I'm holding the gun, no issues with it. But if I was to sit here and just decock it all night, which I don't know what would cause me to do that, I do feel like there's just a slight bit of movement on the decocker. So I may have to revisit it, like I said before. But leave those comments down below. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thumbs up would be appreciated. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And till we meet again. So as always, guys, have a great night. Stay safe. And as always, freedom is never free.